Anyway.
I'm glad that we worked that out.
Cleo's got some phone calls to make.
As the four of you join the throng rushing for the edge of the circus tent, this main amphitheater where you were watching the Sepider circus, but sort of chaos has broken out, and you rush towards the doors. The pandemonium has created kind of a bottleneck, you know, and so the doors are like 4 people wide, but it's an entire stampede of guests who are trying to get out the doors. And so you're kind of in whatever position you're in, just kind of moving along with the flow of people. Behind you, the performers are starting to devolve a little bit into concern because they are trapped in the amphitheater and don't have an exit. You know, they have like a backstage that's part of this demiplane, but they have nowhere else to go. Above you, that ring of smoke and the cracks that were appearing in the top of the demiplane begins widening and kind of growing and accentuating. And as it begins to rip apart, you get a brief glimpse of... I don't even know what you get a brief glimpse of. You don't know what you get a brief glimpse of. It's stars and it's oceans and it's roaring fire and it's grassy plains billowing in the wind. And then all of a sudden there's just this loud... And the demiplane tears apart. And the 4 of you, along with all the guests of the carnival, are shunted back into the material plane all at once. And so, sort of like a stack of dominoes, you are somewhere in the crush of several hundred bodies as this pile of people just... And as you land, you get a much better glimpse of what's happening around the carnival. Well, I say glimpse. You're in the middle of a pile of bodies and everything, but you can see now that the smoke that was leaking in through the crack is coming from all over. There is a raging fire that has spread across the circus. You can see guests and partygoers who did not come to the main attraction are scattered about the place. Some of them are injured. Some of them appear dead. Some of them are running. There is just chaos. There's noise. There's kind of the sounds of different things breaking. There's glass shattering, all sorts of things. In this situation, what will you all do?
How widespread is the fire? Has it just started getting big?
No, it's been going for a while. It's probably like... You know, we painted... I'll zoom out for a second and we'll talk about the circus again. The circus is sort of 2 roller coasters that go in a ring around the rest of the circus, and then there are kind of like concession stands and little games and things like that. There's a Ferris wheel that kind of stretches up into the sky, and then at the center there's this tent. And then outside the roller coasters, there's a petting zoo. One of the roller coasters, so half of the entire circle, is on fire. And has begun crumbling and collapsing. And as bits and pieces of it fall, the fire is spreading across the plains grass. So it's the fire is significant and advanced at this stage in its journey.
So I have a cipher that allows me to suspend energy. How much energy can it suspend?
What level is your cipher?
It's level 4. Would you call this a level 4 fire?
I would call this... I would probably call this fire a level 6.
Can Frode use this to at least lessen the fire?
Frode could pick something to protect from the fire. Like, you know, suspend the fire as it's about to hit something, and then it would create like a wall, essentially. So you could pick a group of people or a location or something like that.
I'll pick either a group of flammable buildings near the fire and or a group of people who happen to be stupid and running at the fire.
Group of flammable people.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you want to tell me which you choose? There's plenty of both.
Oh, well, then I'll choose the people.
Okay. Frode's going to try and save some people. To get there, you are going to need to escape from the crowd you're in. Like, you know, the crowd is essentially hindering you. So it's a level 6 task, and then you are hindered a step to level 7. To
wee woo, wee woo. I will attempt. I'll use my iron muscles ability, muscles of iron, to make any kind of strength or might based action eased.
Okay.
And then I will simply. Forcibly, but gently, I might cause some minor injuries here, but listen, it is within the well good. I am pushing people out of the way.
Okay.
To get where I need to go.
Sure, so this is going to be a might task. You've eased your difficulty 2 steps, basically, which brings it to the level 5 task with a target roll of 15. If you fail, just to clarify, like, failing just means not getting there this round. So the first thing you try to save, maybe you don't save, but the next thing you get there for, you could save.
Okay, so I got a roll, right? And it's a roll.
Yeah.
And it's not doing it.
Not doing it. So describe what... Actually, I'll describe it for you because you still haven't discovered very much about what's around you. So as you're...
Sure.
I think it's a sheer... it's just the sheer volume of people. Like, it's once you're up to speed, Frode is pretty unstoppable. But getting up to speed when you're in the middle of a crush of bodies is really challenging. And so you're spending a lot of time. It's like, instead of bulldozing people, you have to kind of like push them one at a time, kind of make a path for yourself. So that's what's holding you back. The next time that you attempt this task, instead of being hindered by the crowd, it will be eased by 1 step. So it'll start as a difficulty 5 might task for you because you're making space for yourselves. As Frode begins doing that, what about the rest of you? What will you do in your current situation?
Devroid, he wants to try and get to like the people who are most critical, either those who have been injured and can't escape, or those who are struggling to escape.
Yeah, so that would be an intellect task.
Okay.
To try and determine who's the most vulnerable, right? Or who's the most like already hurt.
He is trained in noticing detail.
Excellent.
And he's also trained in intimidating other creatures.
That's not going to help him with this, I don't think.
Help people get out of his way.
I'll give it to you this time. Sure. I'll give it to you.
I rolled a 6.
You rolled a 6. So you do find someone who's hurt, but it's someone who's in that group that got like shunted out. You're walled in by the bodies, and so the most injured person you can see is in the middle of this mass. And so you kind of like, you can get down and tend to them or whatever. How do you take care of that person, or what does that look like?
He's going to like get down and try and pick them up as quickly as possible because he also wants to avoid being trampled.
Got it.
We don't want two trampled people, so he wants to get them up at least, and maybe we can move them to the side or down an aisle to tend to their wounds.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and you're a hardy dwarf, and you are also experienced in like kind of the public service as your job. I don't think you need to roll for this. That's the kind of thing that like, yeah, someone fell, I can scoop them back up, and so you get them back on their feet and keep them moving with the crowd. Willard and Armis, what will the two of you be doing?
Willard is going to. As everyone gets like pushed together, he is a burrowing creature, so I'd like to think he'd be able to kind of squeeze out as fast as he can, like kind of find the seams in the bodies.
Absolutely.
And as he goes through, you can hear him grumbling, "Is this freaking rats again?" And he keeps he gets out, and he is gonna look around at the fire, and he's going to attempt to learn from some of his mistakes in their previous training.
Okay.
And he would like to roll to see if he can identify a source, or maybe even the metaphorical or literal, smoking gun, and so we can chase after it.
Perfect. This is an intellect task with a difficulty of only 3. This is a fairly large problem that we're experiencing, so it's not going to be that hard to find its source. But, maybe smoke gets in your way or whatever.
He got a 15 on the roll.
Easy peasy. Willard, you emerge from the crowd. You take a second to get your bearings. You are on the burning side of the circus. So ahead of you is just this big ring of fire, essentially, with smoke coming off of it. The roller coaster was made of wood, and so it's kind of crumbling in on itself as the support beams, when a support beam goes, kind of the parts above it fall on top, and it sort of creates this campfire effect where it all compounds and gets worse and worse. So that's providing kind of a backlight, which is a little bit harsh on your eyes, and so it takes a little while for you to get the detail of everything else. As you're squinting through the smoke and at the silhouettes and trying to figure things out, you can see that, like, okay, there's a concession stand. It's in the line of the fire, but it looks like the fire started over here. You look over and you see a couple of circus performers who are running with, like, buckets of water to just try and, like, basically douse their cart, the concession stand, to prevent it from burning. You look behind them, the puppet tent, the puppet masters thing where the kids were over by the petting zoo, and one of the puppets has pulled free of the tent. Its little strings spinning away from it haphazardly, and it is essentially scooping up different pieces of equipment for other things. So you can see swinging in this kind of wild circles around it. There's like one of them is a burning firework, a smoke bomb. One of them is like a big like whiskey barrel. There's just all these different things. And as they're swinging around, they're just hitting stuff haphazardly. And the fire was started because the first thing it hit was one of the collections of fireworks. It slammed into it with a whiskey barrel and big fire. But that is not the only collection of fireworks. And you can see that there are other ones that, left to its own devices as this thing is just going about its business. Those could be in the line of fire. You can't hear anything from over there because of the crowd screaming behind you. But that's what you see. And you're pretty confident that this is the source of the fire.
Okay. Willard is going to, if he scans around, which of his party members can he see? I know that
you can
Devroid
hear
went into
Frode, but you can't see him. Devroid is still in the crowd, and we're not sure about Armis yet. So let's check in with Armis Thrupp.
Armis is freaking out a little bit right now. He feels like he got all of his companions into this. We were just trying to have a nice day out, but he's going to do his best to collect himself. And holy moly. So there's fire on only one side of this plate. You said essentially it's like
180
a big
degree
half circle
around the outside of the circus.
Can I introduce a potential intrusion
of
or whatever
course
it
you
is
can.
for me?
Let's go.
And say that I would assume that somewhere there is a giant source of water that these guys, if they're traveling with.
Yeah.
I introduce that during the haphazard nature of everything swirling around, that either gets hit or gets picked up and splashes in a big zone where fire is. It is going to no longer burn, to like dampen a path. There could still be like stuff on the sides, but at least make an exit on either side.
Yeah, and as this puppet thing, Willard, you're kind of looking around for Armis, whatever. You see that as it swings around, one of its strings has caught up, maybe like some kind of farming equipment, like a shovel or a hoe or something like that, and it just scrapes along the side of a covered cart that is just like a giant water vessel that they, there's like spigots on the sides and stuff for people to drink out of, and just drops this huge amount of water, probably a full lake's worth of water, gets dumped right in the zone of the petting zoo. And so people can just kind of go through that area and flee. And over there, noticing that this has happened, the little shepherd who was like tending the unicorn and everything is like, kind of starts guiding the people closest to him to get through and run to safety. That's a cool intrusion. What about Armis's turn?
I would think I would like to simply try and yell out and use like my spin identity voice, spin identity ability to just embody a very authoritative booming voice, and try and use that to give directions. Everyone, remember to stay calm, help people if they cannot help themselves, and get everyone out as safely as you can. To try and just rally as many people as I can.
I'm gonna offer you a GM intrusion that you can refuse if you want. But when you do that, I think it would be kind of an interesting moment for Armis if inadvertently he realizes that the authority voice he defaulted to is Chasm Jasper.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so then you get an XP and you can pick someone in the scene to give another XP to.
So I use that because he's an inspiration to me and I love him. I'll give my other XP to Willard.
Oh.
That may, probably you two are able to see each other. Armis. I imagine Armis with his Sepiter, abilities, kind of like Willard is like, well, I'm short, I can scurry through legs. I bet Armis climbs over everybody to like get to the top of the pile, and so you can see him up there as well.
So yeah, Willard was gonna say if he saw somebody, he was going to immediately like try to get Armis's attention. Armis, and then he will like turn and point to the rogue puppet and say, "That's what we're going after. That's our flaming rat."
Fantastic. Let's try and keep people away from it and do this nice and clean. We can't redo this one, boys.
And you know what that means? It means it's story time at the Wing Badger Tavern, and we will be right back.
The hell is this?
The world of Urda has regressed, Jasper. Whatever else happened 100 years ago, magic is wild now, and that's dangerous for everyone. If I send soldiers or even the Guardians, the world of Urda will see a conquest no matter what I say. But we can't control a mercenary company.
Okay, what are you proposing?
Am I supposed to look at the camera, look away? I don't understand these things.
If you're doing something wrong, I'm gonna find you.
And then he just pretends to fall over and goes, "Ow, I have been injured."
You hear him say "King me" as he throws down a full house on the tape. He looks pretty feeble, but one time someone saw a kid try and mess with him and they slapped him really hard with the cane.
So they're supposed to be what? Some kind of arcane janitorial squad? Who's gonna lead a team like this? No, don't look at me! Welcome back to the Wing Badger Tavern, where friends tell stories. I'm joined tonight by some of my friends. Friends, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hello, I am Jake, and I play Willard Taffy, the exiled dirt speaker who throws with deadly accuracy.
And I'm Mike, and I play Armis Thrupp, sharp-eyed spider speaker who works in the back alleys.
Hello, I am Trevor. I play Devroid Gravelheart, the dwarven speaker who separates mind from body.
And hello, I'm Cleo, and I play Frodeus, a tongue-tied imitation explorer who fucked around and found out with the Fae and spits fires and fire spit.
And I'm Josh, the Wing Badger Game Master. I play everybody else. Now, without further ado, let's jump back into tonight's disaster. You all find yourselves having just made this decision. You know, Willard and Armis, you're getting ready to move towards the kind of puppet creature or construct or whatever we want to call this. Frode, you are in the kind of midst of the crowd. Devroid, you are helping people and making sure that kind of the mob is running smoothly. I'd like everybody to roll initiative.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's new.
15 to 20.
Me.
Okay, so just Devroid. 10 to 15.
Oh no.
5 to 10.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 0 to 5 is Frode. Devroid Gravelheart, you are up first. You are in the midst of the crowd. You hear Chasm Jasper somewhere yelling to everybody to run towards the petting zoo where there's like safe run that way, it's gonna be safer. I don't remember his voice. But anyway, what would Devroid like to do?
So Devroid first is gonna try and yell out to his friends. Guys, Frode and I will handle the crowd. You two go address the wild magic.
Everyone but Willard can hear that just because Willard's out in the front and everyone else is in the mass of people.
Okay. And then he will continue making efforts to assist the crowd, especially focusing on those who have already been injured or just cannot escape for whatever reason.
Okay. That's going to bring us to the puppet. The puppet, as it's spinning around and attacking and what have you. Attacking is not the right word for it. It doesn't look necessarily like the puppet is sentient. Like it's just behaving erratically. But at least as far as you can tell, it doesn't seem like a directed intelligence. It just seems like this thing is going nuts. So, you know, legs and arms flopping around. I keep kicking my camera when I become a floppy puppet. Legs and arms flopping around. And, you know, as the strings zoom around, they just kind of pick things up and drop them again. One of the strings, boom, whips into like a bag of confetti and tosses it up in the air, kind of creating this like big masked, like difficult visibility area as the confetti floats down and it kind of skips forwards. But then you see one of the strings does whip into where the balancing artists were, the two who were rapier fighting, and it does pick up a rapier and begin swinging that around, which is pretty dangerous for the crowds as they're trying to run past. However, this turn, it doesn't hit anybody, which means that we're going to get to the other three of you now. It is your turn.
Willard has an idea. He, Josh, you don't have to give me specifics. How difficult would it be to predict the path that this puppet is going on?
It would be pretty challenging, but not impossible.
Okay. Willard is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What if I, instead of trying to absorb fire energy, I tried to absorb whatever energy's moving the... Like, what's emanating from the puppet?
I think that would be a good follow-up. Willard's idea is to burrow down and try to anticipate the path of the puppet and make it like fall into it, like try to dig a little pit or something for it to like fall into to at least immobilize it temporarily. Does that sound like a good thing to try?
Is it floating though, or is it?
I guess I don't know.
It's like hopping and skipping around. It's like bouncing off its little legs. It's not like suspended in midair.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so it has weight to it. That's a good idea. Okay.
So Willard will kind of call that out. I'm gonna try to trip it up. I'm gonna burrow down.
Alrighty, I can try and put my naval webs on it too, if I can get close enough.
I guess I'll try sucking up the energy.
So what? I assume it'd be an intelligence roll or intellect roll to try to predict which direction, like the path. Okay. I am going to spend a level of effort. Okay. I'm going to spend 1 XP to ease a task. Perhaps Willard is able to like shield his eyes just correctly to where he's blocking out the fire, and the fact that the fire actually hinders his vision as a molefolk. So
that's cool.
13 on the die.
13 on the die is enough. Willard, you are relatively confident you know where it's going, but you've also identified that it moves with a pretty ridiculous speed. It can travel a long distance in a turn instead of a short distance. So the D&D equivalent of like 50 to 100 feet.
All right.
So you can guess the direction it's going, but you're going to need to roll a d4 each turn to decide if it's rolling towards you. You're going to pick the number you want to roll because it's moving at random, right? So you're going to pick which of the 4 directions you want and then roll a d4, and that will tell us if it moves towards you or not. Because if it's moving away, you can't move fast enough to get in front of it.
Got it. I see. I want to roll a 3. I rolled a 2.
All right. So this turn, you know where it's going, and I'll give that to you in a second, but it's not going to move towards you. It's going to move back towards the burning roller coaster, so away from the crowd of people that are kind of stampeding in that direction.
Okay. Willard will start to... can I burrow that direction in the same turn? Obviously, I won't catch up.
Yeah, you can still move that direction.
First Willard will call that out. It's moving towards the roller coaster, and then immediately duck down into the under the ground, and he's starting to burrow that direction.
Does it look like it has a finite amount of threads, or is it just like continuing to get more fucking... sorry for my swearing. Does it have more in the mix?
It has a finite amount, but they're so far away, and there's so many of them that you can't get a count right now. But it's like what was on the puppet to start with.
Okay. All right. Frode, I'm thinking about going in there and cutting some threads. Does that sound good?
I'll join you, and I'll try to suck up as much as I can.
Are you helping me? I thought Willard said, or not Willard, Devroid said you were going to help with the crowd.
I changed my mind.
All right. Sorry. Devroid, do you have the crowd? Do you need me to help you with the crowd?
How does the crowd look?
Yeah. Did my yelling help, like, keep anybody...
They are moving in the general right direction, but it's still a stampede of people. So they're still kind of messy. Some of them are running off in the... there's always a few stragglers who are like, I'm going to get out a different way and run off another direction.
Gotcha. All right. I didn't know if I could, make a roll to be more encouraging.
No, you did a great job.
Okay, fantastic.
I figure with the water leaving a way out, I heard about the puppet. I figured I could. That's different energy.
All right, I'll do my best with the puppet. I'm gonna try and get over there, and just kind of sprint towards where it's at, and along the way, I would like to see if I can try and cut a thread or two if they happen to be near me.
Okay.
On my way, and if they're going very fast, I.
Unfortunately for you, this puppet is a long distance away, which you can run that entire distance in a turn, but it's going to be a speed task, difficulty 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna ease that if I may, with some effort.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hustle. If I put on Jasper voice, I have to make this a good one. Oh shit, that's a nat 20.
Nice.
Nat 20.
Go.
Whoa! You make it the whole way over there. You get the points you spent on effort back. When you roll a nat 20, you get all your points you spent back. and you get a major effect. You're going to get to pick it, but I'm going to tell you that one of the options is you could take an attack action this turn as well. Normally, a long distance is a whole turn action to move, but you could attack as part of that if you wanted with your major effect.
Potentially change the environment to better suit our needs.
You could do that.
I'm just saying.
I need like a Jeopardy type music for when you guys get effects.
No
pressure. There's always a little deliberation.
But it's all down to you.
Oh god.
No pressure.
If I put him in my webs, will that contain him? Should I just try and stab him if I get my thing in him?
Whoa!
My sword, my cane sword, Frode.
And you're giving Frode crap about statues.
I'm gonna try, if I may, to run up to this thing. And if it's really flailing like crazy, I would like to try and jam my sword through it so I can keep hanging on to it. Ultimately, I would like to try and grapple it to wrap it up. But primarily, I would like to make sure that I don't lose hold of it.
Okay.
If there's some way I can do that, either just getting webbing on my hands to get a better grip.
Yeah. So here's what I'll let you do. I will let you like get a sword, like kind of wedge a sword somewhere into its inner workings to like let you ride it, but it won't deal any damage. Or you can deal damage, but then you're going to have to roll a might task to hold on because this thing is flailing and moving so fast. Your choice.
No, I'm gonna just try and hold on to it right now.
Okay. You successfully, basically, you as you run in towards it, you kind of pull your cane out. I'm assuming you kind of like drop the cane part of it somewhere and just like leap at it. All 6 spider arms out to the sides. As you bring down your main arms on the sword, you kind of like wedge it in, and it's a puppet, right? So you can just kind of wedge into like the little gap on its neck or whatever, and its head kind of like flops into the sword a little bit as it's skipping around. It is now yanking you along with it. I'll tell you for the future, this will be a might task difficulty of 6 to hold on to as it's skipping around. You notice that the puppet is like almost independent of the things it's picking up. As if to say that now that you are within immediate range of it, you are coming to terms with the fact that each of the items it's holding has its own attack, separately from the puppet, which makes a movement action. But you are grappling it and used a major effect, so it hasn't figured out how to hit back at you yet. It doesn't really figure things out. Like, it attacks at random. So it's not going to hit you this turn. But I'm just telling you, you're kind of getting the idea that like, oh shoot, like if we don't cut all the strings off of this, like they're going to keep attacking regardless of what we do to the puppet.
Gotcha. Guys, this is some really crazy magic stuff. The threads are very dangerous.
And Frode, what are you up to?
I'm gonna turn around because I was headed towards where the fire was, but it sounds like it's coming my way anyway. So I'm gonna turn around, head right at it, and try to get within a short range so I can suck it up. Or at least suck up some of it.
Okay.
So, move within short range. I don't know if the crowd's a problem if I'm heading the opposite direction.
I think with Devroid doing that, and he took his last turn to focus on just helping the crowd move, I'm confident that if he, finds you, Devroid is going to help you get to the front of the crowd. All right. Unless Trevor says otherwise, but I assume that's...
No, I will. Yes.
So yeah, Devroid kind of helps make a path for you, and so you can get out. You can move to it, but just like with Armis, remember it's a long distance away from where the stampede is. So that's a speed task difficulty 4 to get there.
I just like to move a short. Frode just walks up. He walks up and he's just like, "Ah!" And he claps his hands. And as he claps his hands, tendrils of magic whip from his arms and lash out and grab onto the strings. And you see the strings freeze in place, but something almost like heat on a hot day pulling off the road. You just see this kind of energy move through the air and suck down into his hands. And as he pulls his hands apart, a small marble is formed in the air, and he pockets it.
When he did that great clap, the 2 things that you caught are you crushed the rapier down to nothing with your stone golem hands, and you also caught a flying like trash can lid, and just kind of like turned them all into squished, dirt garbage, and then they fall to the ground. Those 2 strings are still attached to the puppet, but they are held in place for the next turn. Which also means that Armis, you don't need to roll a task to stay on the next turn because it's not moving.
Beautiful.
The other strings will still attack, but the puppet will not move. Which brings us to the top of initiative order and Devroid Gravelheart's turn. Devroid, you're in with the crowd. They're kind of pushing towards the exits. It's still a little bit chaotic there. I'm going to threaten you with a GM intrusion. I'll threaten you with a good time unless you are able to reject it, which you can do. That as they get to the petting zoo and everyone's trying to run through the petting zoo to get to safety, they disturb the unicorn and it just goes nuts and begins sprinting into the midst of the crowd, just like bucking and neighing. And so it's like it's kicking people. The horn it's not trying to stab anyone. It's just that it has a horn, so it's dangerous that it might run into someone. If this unicorn is just going nuts, and you are the only one here because everybody else is off doing their thing.
Actually, I would like to accept that, but introduce a player intrusion.
Okay, great. So you get 1 XP, give away 1 XP, and then we'll deal with your player intrusion. Who would you like to give your 1 to?
I'll give 1 to Willard.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
And then you want to spend that 1 XP you just got to create a player intrusion. What's your player intrusion?
Maybe more. So I would like to say...
Maybe more. Okay.
That... Devroid, while escorting and helping people, recognizes someone from the police on his tier that he has either worked with or currently works with in the crowd who was attending the circus, like just for funsies, and he recruits him to help out with the crowd work.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Managing the crowd.
So that's going to be 2 XP because it's a short-term benefit because this guy will be around for longer than just this one round. And the he will be a level 4 NPC. What would you like him to do, or how would you like him to contribute to the unicorn problem?
I'll say to him, Jorn, you're on the mounted unit, right? Can you control that animal?
Devroid? Let me see what I can do. You just spoke a little bit extra into canon about me that I wasn't prepared for. Let me run over and see. And he rushes over to the unicorn and he's like, okay, what's your name? What's your name? Someone yells, our name's Bessie. All right, Bessie, just calm down, Bessie. It's gonna be okay. And he starts trying to work with Bessie the unicorn. He is able to calm Bessie the unicorn, but there are several injuries before he gets a hold of her. Bessie is an even match for him, so it's just taking him a little while to get to. But a couple people get kicked or trampled or what have you before he gets a hold of her. But then he kind of hops on, and because you said you want him assisting you with crowd control, now he is mounted, and he's going to use the extra height and the unicorn and he's calmed down the unicorn, and he's going to start guiding people that way. So this is going to ease your tasks by 3 steps if you want to do anything with the crowd, or if you want to do something else, he'll handle the crowd.
I'm just saying, mounted unicorn police goes pretty hard.
That does go pretty hard.
I would like to get those who have been injured either out of the stomping grounds that is this crowd.
Yeah, great.
Or at least pick them up if they can walk themselves.
Yeah, why don't you choose which of your 3 abilities you'd like to use to help them, justify how, and then you can try and get them maybe to the med tent.
Okay. I'll use might. I think that makes a lot of sense. Picking people up and not getting trampled himself. Okay, I'm gonna spend a level of effort.
Okay.
It's a 14 on the die.
A 14 on the die. It is enough. You help 3 people get out of the kind of line of being trampled, and you walk them over to the med tent. As you're at the med tent, you also see that in the med tent, kind of getting ready to run out there with kind of responder gear on, is that Dirtfolk sheriff who has been out kind of touring with this carnival. He was putting on some kind of equipment or getting himself ready, changing out of his guest clothes and into his work clothes. And so he's got on, he's got his little bandolier with his different ciphers and equipment that he brings with him. And he's got his shiny badge, mounted on his hat that's on top of him. and he is getting ready to run back out there and participate.
Sounds good.
He just kind of nods at you as you walk in.
Yep. And then Devroid's like in and out, like drops him off, makes sure they're okay, and he's back to the crowd.
Okay.
And managing it.
Back to the task.
As Devroid heads out there back to the crowd, the sheriff is going to run out with him and just like, all right, this is quite kind of a crazy situation I didn't expect, but I'm here to help. Let's see how things are going. Good job getting those guys in the med tent. I'm gonna see if I can say, oh, you've got someone moving the crowd too. Great. Let's see if we can put out this fire. And he's going to run over to another one of the big carts with its water tanks. And he's going to basically start getting the pump ready. He's got like a hose connected to the pump on the back of it. So next round or whatever, he'll be able to start pumping water. That will bring us to the puppet's turn. The puppet cannot move because all of its momentum from those two strings has been sucked away by Devroid's cipher. However, there are still some strings flying around here, and it particularly Frode, who is at exactly the radius of the puppet strings, is in danger of being hit by some of these. And so I'm going to roll to see if any of them hit you. And Frode, you need to make a might defense roll as a bouquet of balloons gets spun around your neck and threatens to yank you off your feet and start dragging you just from the sheer speed of it.
Understandable. I'd like to say that my sheer weight eases the task, perhaps, being the giant solid golem I am.
I'll accept that.
And on top of that, let's go ahead. Okay, I'm not being attacked. Well, I'm not attacking. I'm being attacked.
Yeah, so it's a might defense roll.
So muscles of iron still applies.
Okay, so that's 2 steps eased. It's a difficulty 4 now.
All right, and I will go ahead and take a free effort, seeing how I have 3 edge.
Great. Difficulty 3 task. Target roll of 9.
I really hope I don't roll really low after this. Oh, okay, I got 11.
Got an 11. The strings kind of whip around your neck. Luckily, you don't breathe, having been turned into a golem. But it does like kind of rocks you a little bit, but you manage to kind of dig in and keep your feet. But it's not pleasant. Just the force of it kind of pulling back against your head. Another one of them is going to swing around and attack Armis. Armis, one of the puppet strings has swept up just a piece of wooden debris from the roller coaster. It's not on fire, just like kind of charred wood. And it's just swinging around at random, and it's going to just boom, thwack into you. That'll be a might defense roll.
Oh, God. Another nat 20, if you can believe it.
Another nat 20.
Oh, my gosh.
Success and a major effect. What would you like your major effect to be?
Oh my God! What was thrown at me?
A piece of like charred wood.
Yeah, I want to hit the puppet.
Okay. Boom! It slams into the puppet at the midsection so hard that the top half of the puppet just pops off from the bottom half of the puppet, and that's what happens to it. You're not confident what this means for the health of the puppet or the well-being of the puppet, shall we say? And that is your nat 20. So that brings us to the other 3 of you. That's Willard, Devroid, and Frode. Your turn.
If it works for you guys, if Willard could, because it's immobilized right now, Willard could dig the pit for it to get more immobilized past the 1 turn, hopefully. And then you guys hit it with follow-ups. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. I don't like the chiropractic I'm receiving right now, though.
So Willard is going to continue with his previous plan, which was he's still underground. He's burrowing to where he thought it was going to go, and it hasn't changed direction yet because it's been stopped. So he's going to try to get under it and then do as much digging as he can. Literally just try to make a pit that it just sinks into.
Cool. 2 options. You can start and finish this turn by making a speed roll of 4, or you can start this turn, but they'll need to hold it in place again for another turn for it to fall into the pit you're digging.
Well, let's do the speed roll.
Okay.
Willard wants to get this done.
Speed roll of 4.
He is going to use a level of effort. He's trying really hard. He is like digging deep. He's a bit older. He hasn't
He's digging deep.
He's digging deep. He hasn't burrowed intentionally with this much speed in a long time. Obviously, during that hike, he dug to go fast, but not this fast. He got a nat 20. I'm not joking.
He got a nat 20. Let's go.
We're crushing it.
Nat 20.
Can I have some of your dice?
Plus a major effect.
So, okay, I'm going to pitch this. Let me know if this is doable. He would like to dig the pit, and then as the puppet is falling into the pit, be able to basically scurry up and kind of take Armis's, like kind of grab Armis, maybe not force him up out of the pit, but like be able to at least kind of like help him up.
Sure.
And then if they can start like trying to bury the puppet, that's what Willard wants to do, is just bury it so it can't do any damage while they try to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
So Willard, you dig underneath of it and you start burrowing up to, like, you know, now it's gonna fall. And the first thing that happens is a pair of legs just kind of hit you in the face and then flop to the side. They're like little puppet legs. It doesn't hurt, but just like and like fall to the side. And above it, you can see just the torso of a puppet with Armis, who is like 7 times its size, holding on by a sword as it thrashes. Armis gets like nearly like boned in the face by a piece of wood, and then it spins back around and, you know, flops on the ground next to the puppet where it hit it the first time. And then you see like Frode's holding the 2 strings, and as it all begins to fall, you're in like adrenaline mode, you know. And so as he falls towards you, you can catch one of Armis's other hands, and you, like, you know, one claw in the wall, one claw holding Armis, who's like holding on to you. You like pick him up and kind of toss him back onto the wall. I'm gonna hit you with a GM intrusion along with your digging dirt in, which is that you are able to successfully bury the puppet, but it's because that sheriff arrives to help, and he's gonna recognize you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. The sheriff, who I might add, unfortunately for Frode the Forsaken, is wearing his sheriff's hat, rushes over to the hole and begins scooting dirt into the hole next to you. And as you're kind of helping him, he looks over and he's like, "What, Willard? Willard, what are you doing? What are you doing out here?" And he like almost loses focus on what he's doing.
Willard is gonna like just stare him deep, like just stare him down and just say, "We need to do this now. We can talk later."
Armis will also back him up and be like, "Is this whatever beef you guys have cannot be more serious than what's happening in front of you, sir?"
Yeah. Make an ability check to keep him going.
Could I use terrifying presence to try to help me out?
You sure could. So it's eased 1 by Armis backing you up. Eased 1 by terrifying presence. It was a difficulty 4 task. Now it's a difficulty 2.
I got a 17.
Yeah. You easily are able to convince him to get back to participating. He kind of squints at you a little bit, and then he goes, "We're not done with this." But he turns back and, you know, helps you. You kind of scoop all the dirt in and cover up the puppet. And now there are just 2 strings that Frode was holding in place. Those 2 strings are still sticking out of the hole. And there's 1 other string that's just out there, like, kind of flailing. But you were able to, like, most of the strings you buried in the hole with the puppet. And the ground beneath you is, like, it's not compacted. It's, like, kind of shaking and bubbling. And, you know, like, clearly something's down there moving. But you have put it in place. What about everybody else?
Should I roll for whether or not I perceive the hat?
You perceive the hat.
Oh, I perceive the hat?
You're looking towards the puppet, man. There's no way.
That's fair.
Frode, focus on the strings. Tear the strings.
All right. I'll let you determine the difficulty, because I don't think Frode has ever stopped a rage before.
I don't think he has
Frode
either.
will attempt to.
Okay.
And you determine the difficulty, but do not tell me. I don't think it's fair for me to know.
Okay.
I can use up to 2 effort now, because I did take a level up last time we played. I rolled a 16. But I don't know how difficult it is. Eased by 2 levels.
Frode, you feel the urge in the back of your mind. The anger begins to grow, you begin like self-talking yourself. You're like, what would Armis say? You start running it through your mind, and ultimately,
I can do this right now.
the rage overcomes you.
Oh no! And I let go of whatever I was holding. I'm just
The
like
2 strings.
and I just start charging. I charge at with as much movement as I can.
That's
at the sheriff.
You're all an immediate distance from each other at this stage, so you just slam right to the. Are you attacking the sheriff or just his hat?
I'm probably gonna tackle him.
Okay.
Just because I'm moving that fast.
Okay.
My eyes have rolled into the back of my head.
How do we always forget about the hats?
I rolled a 19 to do whatever tackling is.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean?
That comes with a minor effect too. When you successfully tackle him.
You know what? Because the minor effect is whatever I determine it to be, not necessarily what RPing is. And I'm gonna say the minor effect is I do the least amount of damage to the sheriff in this tackle and more to the hat.
It's like an inversion of the cartoon tackle where like normally the hat goes spinning up in the air, but this time you tackle the hat and the sheriff goes spinning up in the air. You do minimal damage to him. He does still take some damage. So he's like having a stare down with Willard, who's like, focus on what's important. And then he turns around and gets decked by the Forsaken. As the hat just shouldered off of him, Frode, you and the hat are heading at breakneck speed. Well, no, it's a tackle. So you slam into the ground and you slide a little bit, but you are not going to run into the roller coaster that's on fire. So that's good for you. The sheriff lands in kind of a pile nearby, and that is what happens there. I believe we're still waiting if Armis is going to do anything else with his turn.
Yeah. Armis is going to be upset with himself that he did not remember hats as a part of the equation.
It's always a part of the equation.
So how many threads are there? Did you say there's like 3 to 5 or something?
There are 3 threads, and all of them now, because Frode let go, all of them are loose and flailing.
But they're all like in the same general area above this hole.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sarlacc,
centered.
But like they're longer and they don't look like a sarlacc. But it's
could I just try and make one really nice, strong, clean swipe to get all of them in one motion?
Ooh, yes, you could. That's a difficulty 6 attack. You can choose might or speed.
I trust that we can deal with Frode. I want all these strings done with so that we can have him as the primary thing. I'm going to use my level 6 cipher of improved might.
Okay.
And just muster as all of my strength to do like a very incredibly cool samurai pose, and then a big swirl in a circle.
That's amazing. Then, and we said that's 1 use 6 steps of easing, right?
Correct.
So it's a difficulty 0. This is now a trivial task for you.
Let's go.
Nice.
Armis just boom with the exactly as described, samurai slice through. You size it up for a heartbeat. You get to know the rhythm of the different flailing threads, and then right at that moment where the demon slayer, the golden thread or whatever appears, and you just whoosh right through it. And they all fall limp to the ground with like a little bit of smoke coming off the ones that were going through the roller coaster, the burning area of the roller coaster, which is, I will add, still like on fire and doing its thing.
Right.
But there's no more flailing from the strings. The ground is still kind of bouncing up and down a little bit from the puppet, but it's down there. So at least at present, that is what's happening, and you find yourself in a out of initiative is too presumptive, but at least for the moment, nothing is actively attacking you. And we find ourselves here in this moment. So we're going to break initiative order. I'm not going to go so far as to say we're out of initiative order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sheriff, what in the name of... He turns around. What are you doing? What is...
I did not tell him to do that.
Willard, is this the kind of company you keep now? You haven't changed a bit.
Sir, may I interject?
Do I see Frode attacking someone?
It is pretty hard to miss.
Okay.
They're attacking the head.
Could I get into immediate range in this turn of Frode?
Yeah, everyone can get everywhere they need to go.
Okay. I would like to spend 3 intellect points to cast Erase Memories on Frode to erase the memory of him seeing the hat.
Of him seeing the hat?
Yeah, on a success, I erase up to the last 5 minutes of his memory.
Oh, yes.
Amazing. You do erase his memory, and because I think otherwise it would be useless to you in this instance, he's not going to see, like, he won't register the hat again for the purposes of his curse.
I would imagine
until the
by
next,
now,
yeah,
the hat's probably
that's fair.
rendered into tather.
That's fair. You're
Yeah.
right. There's probably not a hat to see. There's just the badge, which for some reason the badge won't tear the way the fabric does. And so he's just over there like wailing on his sheriff's badge. But yeah, it all kind of like comes to a stop as you forget that there was even a hat there to see.
How much do I forget? To be clear, how much? Can you determine how much I forget? Or
Up
do
to
you,
5 minutes.
You say up to. I'm asking,
Devroid gets
is it
to choose.
5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably, I guess, like the minimum amount I can. So I guess what,
Well,
like
just go off. What do you think? What do you think?
I'll do the last 2 minutes.
Last 2 minutes. All right.
Okay, so you pretty
Can
much
I-
remember right up to when you... Well, actually, the last 2 minutes... This combat only went 3 rounds. So the last 2 minutes is like... You don't even remember the demiplane
What?
breaking. One moment, you were there watching the Sapiter circus.
Oh, that was
You were
less than
hearing Armis
quick.
talking about how excited he was, and the next you were surrounded by... There's just like a burning roller coaster. You can hear just like the different bits of the thing collapsing around you. Bessie the unicorn is being ridden by a Gaim Night Watch guy who's like escorting civilians to safety, and everyone is just around. There's a sheriff who's yelling, "What in the name of Zanir do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are, just coming over here and stealing my hat?"
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
And Frode just books it out of there.
my
Frode
gosh.
assumes that he has done all of this and it just runs through the
no.
fire to get out of
To
here.
through the fire? I guess he's fireproof.
the fire,
I see.
yeah.
So he just goes
Yeah.
straight through the fire. Okay.
Oh, jeez.
He is gone.
I would follow him, but I'm sensitive to fire. I don't know if anyone else can go calm them down right now.
I can try, since this was kind of my fault. I didn't realize how recent the hat's viewing was.
What kind of sorcery did you do to him?
I'll explain
No, you
later.
sit down. We're not done yet. And the sheriff has turned back to Willard. I'm going to throw a GM intrusion at, I think Armis is probably the person this affects most deeply. That Armis, as Frode runs off through the flames and Devroid says he's going to go and like try and talk to him, and Willard gets addressed by the sheriff. You are the only person who sees striding across the fairgrounds behind you a furious Chasm Jasper next to Earl Coldfoot, the Ruby Warden from inside of Gaim, and the two of them are just at each other's throats arguing about jurisdiction. They're Gaim citizens. No, this is outside of the city limits. This is my team's problem. We are handling it. Look over. And then Frode sprints off into the distance. He goes, "Look at me. Look at eyes on me." But they're just like duking it out on their way over to you. But it doesn't matter who's going to talk to you. You're confident it won't be pleasant.
I think I'll head over to Chasm Jasper, but I think the one with Willard should come first.
Okay. So we'll do.
But as I go to stomp over, I'm going to say, "Sir, before you give this man too much guff, to my understanding, you were running away before giving any direction. So I hardly see it fit for you to yell at anyone right now." And I stomp away. Jasper!
And then as that's happening, Devroid's like, "Frode, come back!" And then Devroid will just tank the fire and run through it too.
Okay.
If he takes a little bit of damage, that's fine.
Take 6 points of might damage as you run
Oh my
through
gosh.
the fire. It was a level 6 fire. Deals 6 points of damage
Gracious.
as
That's
you
fine.
run through the fire. So that leaves Willard Taffy with the sheriff there in front of him. Is just like, we are not done here. I thought you were done with all this. What are you doing trying to be a public servant again? You know what happened last time.
I am just trying to do some good. I don't want to fight.
Some good? I noticed you still don't have any of the standard issue equipment with you.
It is all right. I'm working on a team. I'm trying.
Yes, they seem very
to make
reliable.
It right. They, just like me, they need help. They need a lot of help, but we're trying to help each other, and I'm sorry. I didn't know you were here.
Well, if just knowing where I was, as like a piece of roller coaster falls down behind him, you know, if just knowing where I was enough to make you leave, then what are you doing out here trying to do this kind of work again? Willard, you killed somebody.
Oh my god.
I don't know what else to do to make it right.
To make it right? You could do time. But instead you just up and ran away. You just wandered off. How's that atoning? Do they know? He looks over at, you know, Armis stomping off towards an angry Jasper and Colfoot. Do they know?
No, they don't. They don't know, but we've all done our share of things we regret.
Some of us more than others. And he just kind of stomps off and leaves you standing there. And he stomps off towards, he walks towards the water pump cart thing again, where he's, you know, there are some performers trying to rally and try and put out the roller coaster. We cut from there. Actually, is there anything Willard does in the aftermath of this moment? I don't want to jump away too soon.
Willard frustratedly will like stomp on the dirt that the puppet is buried under to pat practically to try to pack it down, but also just to release frustration. And he just I can't believe it. And he'll like kind of his little mole feet will stomp off, and he'll I'd like to imagine his little spider bear stuffed thing is like somewhere in the fire, and he'll like kind of stomp over to it, pick it up and try to brush it off, and then start stomping towards the home base area.
That's an incredible like little angry scene from him. with this bear that's like twice as big as he is. He's like puts out the little ember on it and stomps off again. That's amazing. Have an XP for that. That was really good.
Oh, thank you.
Let's follow Devroid and Frode next. So Frode, you sprinted off through the kind of burning roller coaster. And you've got a little bit of a head start on Devroid, but not much of one. Where are you headed?
I'll be honest. Frode is just, he's booking it. He has thought he has just caused an atrocity, something that hasn't happened, at least in the recent memory, and he is he's just running blindly through the woods. He doesn't even know if he's going in a straight line. You know what? Yeah, Frode finds a lake or pond.
Okay.
And once he reaches the shore, he stops and sits at the shore.
So Devroid, you're not close enough to like call out to him, but I mean Frode leaves kind of a trail when he's moving determinedly, and so you easily follow the path and you find him seated at the edge of like a little it's not quite lake-sized, but it's bigger than a pond. It is a collecting point for 3 different mountain streams before they become a river and flow away. And there's just this sort of oasis of water in the middle, trees on all sides, and Frode's just kind of sitting there.
Would it be obvious to Devroid why Frode ran, that like he thinks that he did it given how much memory Devroid erased?
I think because Frode was screaming, "I'm sorry," it would be pretty obvious that that's why he left.
So as Devroid approaches, he's like, Frode,
now leave me alone.
It's not your fault.
I'm too dangerous.
No, that wasn't your fault.
It doesn't matter. I saw a hat. I did it.
No, you didn't.
I did everything. I'm sorry.
You did not do everything. I will admit to you that you were attacking a hat, and I used one of my spells to erase your memories of what happened in order to get you to stop attacking the hat, and I just erased too much. So you did not cause anything but tackling the sheriff and attacking a hat.
How do I know you're not telling me the truth?
Do you want me to erase more of your memories to prove it?
How would I prove anything? If you take my memories, I can't tell if my memories are taken.
Yes.
Now you see the
problem. Yeah, that's the problem. I can't prove it to you. I can just tell you that. I wouldn't lie to you about this. You didn't cause the fire. You didn't cause the stampede. You just tackled a sheriff who was wearing a hat.
Where did the fire come from? Where all the people? Why? What caused all that?
There was a puppet with, I assume, wild magic in it, and it started picking up random objects and flinging them around haphazardly.
Oh, what? So
one of the
conveniently, just some wild magic that we've been training for happens, and while we're here, and it isn't just me causing a ruckus?
Correct.
I don't believe you, but I clearly can't argue with you either.
Let's go back, talk to the others.
I'm not going back. I'm going to the house, and if you're telling the truth, I believe Armis will tell me the truth.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be here for a bit.
Okay. Will you be okay?
It's not like I could drown myself anyway. Just go help with the fire.
If you have any more questions, I can answer them.
Ain't got nothing for you.
Okay. Then I'll see you back at the house, Frode.
Devroid, on your way back to the carnival to help with the cleanup of the fire and everything else, you notice off to the side. So I assume you're going to kind of follow Frode's trail back because it's easy. But you notice off to the side of Frode's trail, a couple of twigs and branches snapped in a way that suggests to your detective's eyes that someone was hastily disturbed from a hiding place when Frode tore through, and they did not want to be seen and took off through the woods. This is someone who was clearly expert enough to hide their position until they were startled, and the trail falls away again a few steps later. It's not like you can track them, but you're like, oh no, somebody was here and got displaced, and you register that this was a creature of sentience. It's not like a wildebeest or something like that.
Okay. I will like to take out my notepad, write down approximately 200 feet outside of the circus, chasing Frode. There was a strange figure hiding, and when Frode tore through, they were startled and ran away.
And so you do.
And then he makes that note, and then he walks back to the circus to help with cleanup or to explanation, because who knows what'll happen.
Great. While that's happening, so Armis, you stride over towards Jasper. You hear some raised voices behind you, and then as you arrive and you told us you were like, Jasper, and you do that big excited hug. As you go, Jasper, Willard stomps by in your peripheral vision with a stuffed bear trailing behind him. It's still a little bit singed on the edges, and he just stomps out of the circle and up towards the cabin. And
at least he liked the bear enough to take it.
You turn back, and now Jasper and Earl Colfoot are both there looking towards you. And Jasper goes, all right, Armis, I see that you got here just in time when the thing happened. And you can tell that he's clearly trying to take over the conversation from Colfoot, who's trying to get involved. So you're here to give your report on what happened, right?
Absolutely, sir. What would you like to know?
We need to know all the... And he gets cut off by Colfoot, who goes, we don't need to know anything. I'll send the Ruby Wardens in, and they'll clean this mess up. And he...
so it's unimportant to give any sort of report? You don't care about the puppet that was flailing things around, or the potential rift that was broken, or some possible conspiracy that happened to have this outbreak? I'm sure the higher-ups would really enjoy that. That's a good call.
Fine. Give me a report. And he pulls out a notebook, but he doesn't uncap a pen or anything.
Mm-hmm. very respectful of you. I'm sure you'll commit it to memory. So we were in there. We came down here. We had heard word that there was potential of non-good things happening around this area, some potential magical mockery, kafuckfury, and so we were inspecting and we were perusing inside of the tent when all of a sudden the rift happened to break. A fire broke out and we were ejected from the tent, and immediately my team assessed the situation, eliminated the threat, and as far as I know, made it out scot-free with hardly any injuries in under a minute. And where was your team? Never mind that.
We were in the city waiting to be summoned. And here we are, responding to the disaster.
So we got to take care of the disaster before you even got here. That seems like good work. Jasper, how would you categorize that as good work?
It looks like good work to me. He's got his little quill pen out, and he's like, responded immediately to the threat. Solve problem in. How many seconds would you say that took, Armis? What, like 30 seconds for you all to respond there?
It was pretty darn fast,
Yeah,
and if you want, you could take a survey of the injured. But it's, we got them out of here.
Oh, so there were injuries, were there? Very unprofessional.
Oh my goodness! An explosion happens and there's injuries. This man's sign him up for OSHA, guys.
Both of them at the same time. Not OSHA. The Orc Safety and Health Administration is not to be allowed anywhere near this. They look at each other. Their brief moment of camaraderie. The knives come back out. So what are you all doing now? Where's the rest of the team gone? They're off, I'm sure, doing more cleanup stuff, right? They're out working on it. How'd the team divide up?
As far as I'm aware, I have simply come over to give you a report. I am going to be collaborating with my team, but knowing them, I'm sure they are on top of as much as they're able to in this moment.
Well, I think he should get back to work, Coldfoot, unless you think you should be, questioning him more when he could be cleaning up the disaster he just worked on.
Thank you, Jasper.
Coldfoot's like, I suppose. Wardens, let's take the injured. And the Ruby Wardens who came with him, instead of helping with the cleanup, they take the people who are injured, load them on stretchers, and, kind of get them splinted up or bandaged up and start leading them back into the city where they can receive more effective medical care. At the same time, chat is responsible for this. At the same time, as they turn around to leave, and Jasper looks at you and goes, "It looks like you really did pretty good work here, actually. Like, that was really fast. We only got the report when, at that moment, there is as the puppet bursts back out of the dirt hole that it was compacted into, and it is missing most of its strings. You've still cut most of them off, but there are 2 strings left, and the 2 strings that are left kind of splice out to the left and right. Both of them latch onto a burning piece of roller coaster and begin pulling the entire structure over towards the performers who are trying to put it out. Chat has redeemed some wild magic. That's what's just happened here.
So we have a piece of evidence that we seems to be a little bit more lively than we anticipated. Would you like to cooperate on this one, Jasper?
What do you need?
Stop this.
What does that look like? I haven't even been at this. Meanwhile, the thing is like teetering. People are starting to scream, but you don't think they're going to.
You're the hardened warrior, Jasper. Now start acting like it again. Good Lord.
I'm rolling intellect to see if he snaps out of it or if he sinks in on himself. He freezes. He looks up and he I just delegate now. What do you need? What do you need me to do?
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Can I use my spin identity again to have the voice of like a calming figure in his life?
In Jasper's life?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be specific, but just someone that's like...
Just like a soothing voice.
A soothing voice.
The queen.
A queen.
The queen is not a soothing voice. But
yes,
sure, you pick any soothing voice and you are using spin identity. Sure.
Yes. Jasper, you are needed right now. We need... so the things are about to be toppled, right?
It's coming down.
if we act fast enough, can we cut the strings before it does that, or are they just gonna?
No, it's gonna come down either way. But you might be able to scoot some of the performers who are closest. It's an assembly line, so it's only a couple of people who are not fast enough to get away from it. You might be able to get to those people and pull them out of harm's way just in time.
Are there people on left and right? Can we just like do a split up thing?
Yeah.
Okay. You take left, I get right, Jasper. Just go and tackle and get him out of the way.
I can tackle someone. I can do that. He's gonna roll.
Damn right you can.
And he does. He unfreezes, and so he's gonna run off to one side. And he is easily a high enough level NPC to do this, and so he rushes off to one side and pulls them out of harm's way. Armis makes a speed roll, so difficulty 5, target 15.
I'm definitely gonna use some effort just because I don't want anything going wrong.
Okay.
One last hoorah. Come on, I don't want that son of a bitch to make us look like fools.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
It's a nat 1.
You can burn an XP to
it was
re-roll,
bound to
but as it is, you're
happen.
going to get a GM intrusion with
Reroll!
No... Okay,
Absolutely reroll. How many XP was that?
One XP to re-roll.
I'm gonna do that all day, baby. Okay, that one's a 16.
16. In just the nick of time, as you're running, you get this like mental image of like, it all pans out like how bad could it be kind of a thing, and you imagine yourself tripping and then the roller coaster falling onto the huge pile of fireworks and setting those off. But luckily that doesn't happen because you pull yourself back into your presence of mind and you kind of grab this person and toss them out of the way. You probably like bleep with them, so you kind of pull them out of the way, and both of you kind of fall on the ground as like right next to you there's just this big as the roller coaster lands, and bits of debris go flying out to the sides and stuff like that. Luckily the ground was doused earlier, and so at least over on your side it doesn't catch.
Oh, good.
And that is the circumstance. The puppet, still flailing, has its it's like hopping up and down underneath the roller coaster, and so as it hops, it like flings burning debris out into the world. Devroid, you arrive back at the carnival just in time to see this stupid puppet is like back in the roller coaster, hopping up and down, doing its thing.
Are there people in immediate danger?
It looks like they were just saved by. It looks like Armis saved someone, and did Chasm Jasper just save somebody? It looks like Jasper just dove on someone and saved them. You can also see Earl Coalfoot and one of the Ruby Wardens running down the hill to respond, but they're not going to get there in time. If this thing is kicking fire out into the carnival, there's, it's going to happen before they get there.
Can he run over to the puppet and on the run pull out his axe and try and cut at least one of the strings?
Yeah, sure. You make it to the puppet and you're going to attack. That's a speed or a might roll, your call.
I'm going to use speed.
Okay.
That is a natural 1. I would like to spend an
the highs and
XP.
lows
Oh, he spends an XP to
of high school
re-roll.
football.
Yes. Natural 20.
Natural 20, let's go.
my gosh.
What is in the air tonight?
I don't know.
But I can
Devroid,
feel it calling.
yeah, you're going to cut both strings and you're going to get a major effect, but just describe the whole everything that happens.
So Davroid coming back, like just sauntering back, like yes, like we finished it, and then he hears the boom, and he's like, oh no. So he starts sprinting to see what's going on, and he's like just angry and frustrated now. Not this again. So as he's just sprinting and pulling out his axe, he's just imbuing himself with that Frode rage.
Oh yeah.
And he just like is like running and just does like the backhand slash through both of them.
Very cool. As you run past and you slice them both, Armis, you look up through the smoke from where you've just dove, tackling someone to safety, and instead of what you thought was going to be the puppet like emerging and attacking again, you see Devroid, like, cold as ice, just sprints through with his axe and slices the two remaining strings. And Devroid, how do you end your run? Right, because at the end of this run is going to be Earl Coalfoot, who thought he was going to have to save the day, and now he doesn't get to. And so you kind of like run up towards him.
So he's gonna like run up, he's gonna slice, and then his like momentum will carry him, but he'll do like that cool slide to stop.
Okay.
And then just like dead stare at Coalfoot, like, I got this.
Coalfoot's going to dead stare at you. There's a brief kind of moment or pause, and then he's like, let's go. and he turns around and walks off with his warden. But there is no conversation, and so this particular manifestation comes to a close. Frode has a hand up. Yes.
But was there any semblance of respect caught in that eye glance?
No.
Damn it.
Just disgust. However, as you turn from there to Chasm Jasper, who's just kind of stood up and is like dusting himself off, he looks towards you and you see a little bit of respect in his eyes as he's like, oh, that was a good little attack that he just did there, you know. And Jasper kind of walks over. He doesn't say anything, but he just walks over, puts a gloved, gauntleted hand on your shoulder, kind of rests it there for a second, and then walks over to Armis and helps him up. And Armis, same thing. Like when he helps you up, there's more than just like a helping hand in that little forearm clasp, you know. When he pulls you up there, he kind of holds it for a second and pulls you back up. And then the same way that Earl had in the past, or Colfoot did, he kind of holds up a hand, and you see several of the Gold Wardens coming down the hill to back him up and help him kind of tend to, you know, the performers and get the fire out. You see 3 of them come in with this really big hose that has Edison's logo in the side of it. And as they activate it, there's kind of a arcane sound, and it just jets water. They hook it up to the water tank, but it, you know, way bigger output than you could get with just like a little hand crank pump. And they get the fire put out and kind of leave everything as perhaps not back to normal, but they, you know, the disaster is quelled at this stage. Yeah. But while that's happening, at the top of the hill, Willard Taffy, you have been dragging this stupid toy behind you up the hill to this cabin. You get back to the cabin, and you arrive at the same time as Frode the Forsaken, who I don't know what tone your walking has, but it seemed like you were kind of dejected, so I'm imagining kind of a slow plodding walk from you as well. And the two of you get to the top of the hill, and you see each other sitting there, or walking there.
Peach tea.
Peach tea.
Peach tea and a story. And Willard will kind of pad into the cabin and put the kettle on.
Frode goes to the cabin door and stops. And he places both hands on the door and says what almost could be seemed as a prayer under his breath before entering and joining them at the campfire.
I take it Devroid talked to you?
They told me some... I don't know. I didn't appreciate being lied to cheer me up, but I don't take them for a liar either. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Take it from me, I won't tell you specifics, but no, you did good, and you're getting better.
Did I? I blacked out and I wake up to pummeling scraps of what I could only assume was a hat, and the place ablaze, people screaming, and a man yelling at me.
That wasn't your fault. Devroid did what he thought was right by... And he kind of shudders when he says this, bewitching your head and making you forget the hat. But he...
So what? That's what stopped me from destroying the Spadido circus?
No, he just wanted you to stop from destroying that hat. And Willard will kind of laugh. It's, you know...
I don't think this is a laughing matter. I've heard people in the past, and y'all keep telling me I didn't hurt these people, but I'm looking around, I've seen people wounded, there's a fire. What else happened?
I wish that I could forget the people I've hurt.
So I did hurt people.
No. Not now. Not today. But I think we feel a similar pain, and I think we knew that the day you asked me if I had killed someone.
I just want to know what happened today.
Do you want me to lay it out, or will you listen?
Frode stops for a second, takes a deep breath, and he stares Willard in the eyes.
Did I hurt somebody today?
No. You only hurt the hat of a stuck-up, busybody, rule-following prick.
So, I didn't cause the fire today.
No.
He looks down for a bit, thought, looks back up to meet your gaze.
All right, peach tea.
Peach tea.
Peach tea.
Normally you can tell the kettle is ready because it squeals, but here you can tell the kettle is ready because Jeffrey tells you so.
When that happens, Willard just it shudders and gets step back and I will not be used to that for a while.
Well, Jeffrey, I appreciate you helping out as much as you can.
And Willard will take it and pour the water and make the tea and kind of sit there and
Willard.
Yes.
I don't know if I've killed someone. I don't know how many people I've hurt. I try my best to make sure it doesn't happen again, and it keeps happening. I don't know what I did all those years ago. I don't know what wrong I committed. I'm sorry. I don't know where I was going with that.
It's all right. Sometimes you may know exactly the wrong that you did and still not know how to make it right. It is difficult, but I think we have to look inward and try to find what we have to share with the world and make it better.
Willard, if you're agreeable, would you mind sharing our burdens? I help carry yours and you help carry mine.
I would find that agreeable.
Frode puts his tea down, motions for you to do the same.
Willard will put his tea down as well.
He picks up some of that hay grass out of his pocket and grinds it among his fingers into a fine dust. Spreads it over each cup.
Hello, quoth Kanathne.
Nothing visible happens. But then Willard picks up his cup, motions for you to do the same, and he finishes it in one go.
Willard will finish his as well. What does it taste like? Does it taste any different?
It tastes bittersweet. But hopeful. Whatever hopeful tastes like.
We cut from this room down to the carnival, where Armis and Devroid, you are now helping with the kind of final cleanup of the carnival site. So it's been probably about an hour since the the real disaster ended, and at this stage it's like, okay, we need to clear the rubble that's not going to go away, the stuff that can be salvaged. They've kind of packed it away in carts, and so the carnival's just kind of packing up and getting ready to move on, probably back to their homeland and their home city in order to get repairs and stuff done. And as that's happening, each of you is just kind of really the big remaining rubble is what used to be the petting zoo where the roller coaster fell. Luckily, you alerted the shepherd, and he evacuated all the animals. But there's still the fence posts and stuff, and then there's the roller coaster itself. Devroid, as you are picking through the wreckage of the roller coaster and just kind of as you find logs that are manageable, you toss them aside. If they're too big, you're using your axe to cut them down to size so that people can take them and move them where they need to go. You stumble across the head and shoulders of the little puppet, and it's no longer animate, no more magical disturbance therein. And yet you feel that magical pull that you feel from ciphers and things like that. And as you turn it over, where all of the strings were attached to the back of it, the strings for shoulders, neck, and head, and then its little mouth and everything, where all those strings came together, there is a tiny knot of magic there. No longer volatile and unstable, but there is still a cipher there that you can take if you want it, or you can examine it, or you can leave it.
I would like to examine, see if I can discern what it is.
That'll be an intellect task with a difficulty of 4.
Okay. So he has an edge of 1 in intellect.
Okay.
And so he's going to spend 1 level of effort using 2.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 15.
A 15. You are able to identify that this little knot of surplus magic here has to do with telekinesis, the ability to pick things up, move them around, put them down again. And it is a level 4 cipher, which means that you could pick up and move any object of level 4 or lower, and you would be able to move that object up to a long distance from you, just as the puppet was able to skip that distance in a turn. You would not need a string or anything, but the movement would be as though there was a string connected to it. So kind of like if you've played Breath of the Wild, where they have that one rune where he picks stuff up, but it's like you're moving your hand, or the Force. It's kind of like that. So it would be centered on you, but anything a long distance away from you or closer, you can pick up and move and put down again.
Okay.
And it would last
I'll
just
take
one action.
that.
And as you kind of feel it absorb into you and appear as a little rune on your arm, the puppet finally really does go completely limp. It was almost like there was tension in the strings, and now the shoulders kind of slump forward and the head flops off or whatever. And you can get Armis's cane sword back out of it, and return that to him. Armis, you are over at the petting zoo, and as you are kind of looking around the petting zoo and trying to clear up what you can. Unlike Devroid, you can't necessarily cut the wood down to size, but you've got a lot of arms, so you can kind of hold things up so other people can get in there and whatever's necessary. So you've got other people around you. But as you're kind of messing with all this stuff and just it's tedious manual labor, you notice on the ground a single caltrop, and it's bent in a weird way, which you could try and learn about more with intellect if you want, but what you can tell just off the gate by looking at it is that it's not normal. The caltrop doesn't, it seems like something weird has happened to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna eye up that bad boy. That's only an 8.
That's only an 8. You are not really able to you know something's weird about it, but you can't figure out what's wrong with this picture. I mean, other than like there obviously shouldn't be a caltrop, which is like a little spike. There shouldn't be a caltrop in the petting zoo, but you're not sure. Just something about this one doesn't. It's something's abnormal about it, but you're not sure what. You could maybe ask Devroid about it, I guess.
Yeah, I'll take it with me and let him know where I found it. As I'm picking it up, I bend down and I'm just kind of looking at it with my other 2 hands. I pull out a cigarette and like do the whole thing where pack it against my hand and put it in my mouth and light it. Just walk it over. Devroid!
Oh, Armis, here's your cane.
Thank you. Here's something for you to look at, Mr. Policeman. What you make of this?
He will take it. Do you have another one of those cigarettes?
Oh, of course. Let him bum one.
So Devroid holds the thing in one hand and begins smoking in the other. I guess I'll make the intellect roll, and the roll is a 14.
14, it's enough. What you're looking at is a normal caltrop, but it's been deformed by the fact that it was launched at high velocity. This was fired out of some kind of weapon into the ground. And as you're thinking about this and you're putting the pieces together, you remember that in the middle of the original disaster, the unicorn got spooked and ran into the crowd. And you thought at the time that it was related to the fire because there were loud noises and there was heat and everything. Yeah. But thinking back to it, like that area got doused by the water thing. So there shouldn't have been fire that close to the unicorn. Assuming it was well trained enough for someone to then use it to direct the crowd, it's weird that it would have gotten spooked by just the presence of fire nearby. Someone intentionally fired this caltrop into the ground and caused the unicorn to get spooked and run into that crowd.
Okay. Are there any symbols or markings on it that would discern it?
No. It is a simple, like, cast iron object.
Okay. Did the puppet have any symbols or markings on it?
You pick the puppet back up and look at it, but it is too charred or damaged to identify. However, if you were to ask the carnival folk, they would tell you that it's like a standard issue puppet. They make all their puppets their own, like on their own. So it's like someone in, they have a bard in the back who like makes all the puppets.
Yeah. Okay, so Devroid will hold the caltrop and the puppet in his hands and while smoking with Armis. So it appears someone fired this to spook the unicorn and I guess rile it up.
It doesn't get any easier, does it, Devroid?
Armis, make an intellect check with a difficulty of 3. Level 3 difficulty.
Gonna use effort just because I don't want to mess it up.
Target roll of 6.
That's an 8 again.
It's an 8, so it's a good thing you used that effort.
Damn right.
Armis, you don't know everybody who went to the carnival, obviously. But a carnival that rolls into town is the kind of fancy event that high-profile individuals might visit. And in a different life, you might have thought of such an event as an opportunity to make something look like an accident that wasn't one, involving the injury of such a high-profile individual.
Oh, dear.
And so looking at this and just, you're just kind of seeing a world where that could be possible. There's no definitive proof, but you can, just because you kind of know how to think that way, you know.
Does the conspiracy stuff?
I think I might have some people I could ask about this. There's no guarantees, but I know some bad mother truckers, if you know what I mean.
People you could ask about what?
Chasm walks up to you. What are we talking about, boys?
Oh my gosh! Look at him; he's full of vigor again.
Hey, I haven't gotten to do a big run stunt like that in a long time.
It looked great out there, Jasper. It looks good on you. Yeah. Do you smoke these days?
I don't.
Oh, all right.
But I'll let you.
I'll smoke one for you. I put a second one in my mouth.
That's right kind
of. We're discussing the potential source and cause and reason for everything that happened today.
We found this little caltrop out there, and I think, Devroid, maybe you were telling me earlier about some kind of junk you saw out in the woods.
Yeah, so when I was chasing Frode, we talked, and then he said he was going back to the house, and I came back here, and on my way back, I saw an area where someone had fled from, like they were watching or doing something. I don't know. I didn't see them, and their tracks faded very quickly. So they were spooked by Frode, ran away, but they're excellent at masking their trail.
Well, that is troubling. I think that with our good results here and the report that I'm going to be able to hand in on our work, we might be able to requisition a little bit more resources. Maybe I'll see if I can get us a couple of the thinky people to sit down and kind of take the details y'all find and try and, put together some information and filter through reports and stuff. Hopefully get us to the meat of these kind of issues sooner. I don't know what to make of it, but if you guys think there's something after your performance today, I'm willing to look into it for you.
Appreciate that, Jasper.
I don't think it was an accident or just wild magic alone.
You think the puppet was intentional too?
I think it was intentional in the sense they just wanted commotion to be caused, not in the sense of damage or how much damage.
Just to clarify, are you telling me you think someone was waiting for an opportunity and the puppet was a convenient one? Or are you telling me you think somebody found a way to cause that puppet madness?
Too early to tell and not enough information, but both are viable.
Something stinks at the circus.
We'll have to look into that.
Canvassing.
Let's head up for tonight and not talk about this to any of the Ruby folks as they kind of return back from taking people to heal. Let's let the cleanup happen tonight, and maybe we'll come back later and see if we can find anything they miss on the grounds here.
Sounds
will
good.
we get an opportunity to talk to the circus employees, or are they leaving?
They've all been taken back into Geim to rest up and get looked over by one of the medics for tonight, but I'm sure that we can arrange for you to talk to them before they leave.
That would be great.
All right.
Before we get out of here, can I say that the knife throwing thing is still there?
It's still floating in the air. It's just like the four targets are like with Willard's knives in them.
How about Jasper? You didn't really get to have much fun at the circus today. What about a nice little friendly competition?
A competition? What kind of competition?
Well, just so you can get the most targets hit. Don't have to have no stakes, but maybe I make you smoke a cigarette with me someday, or share a drink or something. How about that?
Sure, you out-throw me, I'll have a drink with you.
All right, there we go. That's what I like to see!
And the two of you walk over towards the targets, and then I'm going to actually cut from here back to the cabin. Willard and Frode, you're finishing what I'm assuming you're going to keep going with the tea. So there's probably been another tea that was brewed and drunk. And as you're finishing that second tea, Willard, you are perhaps not natively a creature of the night, but you're accustomed from your alter ego to living in the shadows and listening for any little noise and being a little bit extra paranoid. And as you set down that last sip of tea, the fire roars up from Jeffrey and glints off your mug in such a way that you actually see in the reflection, you think you see maybe someone outside the window just for a heartbeat. You turn around as quick as you can, but there's no one there when you turn around. If you really listen, you think you might have heard the faintest rustle of a bush. And on that note, tonight's adventure at the Winged Badger Tavern comes to a close. Which means we need to talk about our character growth from this fun adventure. Let's just go down the line here. Why don't we start with let's start with the overarching stuff. You definitely took a step towards our uncover a secret main quest that the party chose for you. So everyone gets 2 XP for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we have a party objective of establishing yourselves as a team. And I think that you all worked very effectively as a team. There was, in the beginning even, people were like, remembering that I didn't communicate in the past, and thinking back to our training, I think that's another step. So that's 2 more XP for you all.
Oh my gosh.
And then let's go character by character here. Let's start at the bottom and go up. So we're going to start with Frode the Forsaken here. How do we feel like Frode did this evening? Frode, remind us of your character arc that you're on.
Well, Frode's trying to, I guess, recover some semblance of normalcy. He has committed some problems in the past, and he is obviously afflicted with a curse. And trying to just work that out. Now, I will say, had he stopped himself from going into a mad rage, that would be a guaranteed. But I don't think that necessarily knocks him out of the running either.
I think
it's up to you.
Well, I'll see if the other players have anything to say. I have a thought of something that might qualify to you.
I was just going to say, him sharing that moment with Willard, a moment of trust with someone with his memories, might be willing, but like I said, I leave it up to the Raz.
I would say, the moment at the end I felt like was a good development moment. I don't know, was there time for our characters to talk off screen before there was an interruption in the woods, or will we talk about that next session?
I will say there probably perhaps.
I think there was time to talk off screen, and if you want, we can use that as the opening hook for next session. You can have that
I would
conversation.
Love that.
Great.
I would love that, actually. But yeah, no, I mean, especially as someone who was in that scene with you, I felt like that was a good development moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it, like when you're trying to recover from something, and especially for Frode, we know it's been several hundred years of his affliction. I think being willing to share the burden with someone is a tangible step towards recovering, because obviously he can't do it on his own. So I think that definitely counts. So that's 2 XP for Frode the Forsaken. Let's take a look at Devroid Gravelheart tonight.
I definitely think he made progress towards his goal, which is establishment. I want to prove myself as someone of importance, especially towards Jasper. He sees as his essentially fresh start and ticket to a new life that he's been trying to build.
He definitely earned some props with Jasper tonight.
Did good. And he talked to an old cop buddy.
Yeah.
And I liked even just getting more peeks into his investigative sense, including even hearing what he wrote down on his notepad.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
That was
too.
all great. Yeah.
And I guess just to seal it, him coming back and rolling that nat 20 and just be like, problem solved, Jasper. Is this good enough for you? That's gotta be.
What a way to enter a moment that could have been like, we're starting combat over, and you're like, no, we're not.
It'll be
We're
the
done
duck
with
out
this.
of the bag again.
How about Armis Thrupp? That is 2 XP for Devroid then. How about Armis Thrupp? How do we feel like remind us his arc?
God, I always forget the actual wording of it. To undo a wrong, I believe it was, or to just kind of make. Basically,
I thought it was he's trying to. It's like the follow up to a fall from grace, right? Like a redemption arc.
Yes. So I think he's just trying to be a better man. I think at the very least he did a much better job of just trying to be quick and active and communicate with his team.
He gave a good job reporting as well. Though I'm not sure how much of that is growth versus what's the word for it?
Spite?
No, well, I wouldn't say spite, but damage control. That's the word, damage control.
Mm-hmm.
But he did a good job at it either way.
He's good. I was trying to defend. He was trying to defend some people as well, because there's so many uppity mother.
He was trying to defend Jasper. To be fair, I feel like part of that was defending Jasper.
Yeah, we defended Jasper. I tried to defend Devroid and Willard with that uppity cop who was running away before Devroid got him in the action. It's like these guys, sons of guns.
I was thinking that it seemed like a big step for Armis to have identified something that might have previously been his kind of behavior, and instead of keeping it to himself, he was willing to share that. That felt like a big step towards redemption from from having been that kind of guy in the past.
That's true.
So I think that would have been my vote would be yes. I think I would give 2 XP for Armis from that.
That makes sense.
I vote no.
Right?
Like, that's like me with the rod test.
Yeah.
In, the last campaign.
Someone had to do it though.
Someone did.
And then Willard Taffy. How do we feel like Willard did tonight? Remind us his arc, and then we'll see.
Willard's arc is the restoration arc. I won't reveal what for. That will be for the opening conversation of next session.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think, as I kind of predicted last week from the foreshadowing that Josh was doing, Willard got put in a very confrontational situation about his arc. And he was confronted with the core conflict of his arc, and he has to figure that out. So I think he's definitely making steps. And then also, in like a positive way, he worked a lot more effectively with the team during this conflict, and that is also kind of a subset of his arc, trying to do the most good that he can. So I mean, I would say he took some steps.
To be fair, also, I feel like Frode and Willard shared that moment together. They both took that step together in that final scene.
Yeah.
In the sense of, you know, willing to share anything on that and share that burden. I think if I get 2 points, you deserve 2 points.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Also, yeah. And you didn't try and hide from the cop. But when we were in the tent originally, you tried really hard to not have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
You engaged in that. That was really cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think, not that I'm really tracking him or anything, but I think Jasper had a kind of neat growth moment tonight too, where Armis like really pushed him to like get back out, you know, get back on the horse, kind of a deal.
Get back on the unicorn. Speculation question: was that easier to do after identifying some of his motivators and things from last week?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I don't want to accidentally create a GM NPC or whatever you call it, but I feel like it would be kind of cool after every recap if we kind of check on Jasper and see how much he's grown. Even if we don't necessarily assign XP to him, just to see if he's taken.
Well, yeah, and just for you to have like, you know, this is the kind of story where there are more static characters. Unlike, you know, our last adventure, you were traveling so much. This one, you're like, you have a home base. So I think there are going to be some static folks like that who I'm doing my best to make, you know, realistic and believable and not like just fixtures of the world. But anyway, I think that's a wrap from us here at the Winged Badger Tavern.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you want to check out our stream schedule, figure out when we'll be live next, you can do that in our Discord. It's in the About section of our Twitch. There's an open invite link there. And otherwise, from all of us here at the Winged Badger Tavern, in the voice of Armis Thrupp, Mike, what do we tell the people?
GG! And GA.
That's what we tell them. Good night, everybody.